Beautiful. Can you hear us clearly? You can see everything's good?
Yeah. Yes.
Beautiful. 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 So, yes, how I should say how was your day? My day is just beginning, but how was your day, Shravani?
Um, it was good. It was the same. Yeah. It's been good so far.
Awesome. Awesome. Nothing in particular happened that was particularly interesting. Did you learn anything new today?
Um, I explored a bit more of Ray Mayor. Um, yeah, and also listened to some of, do you know Bashar? Um,
The channeler, he channels.
yes. So, yeah, that and yeah, that's pretty much it, and just the regular stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. What did you enjoy from Ray Mayor today?
Well, I was going through some of his retreat recordings.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and also he went through this whole process uh, live on TV where he did not eat and drink for 8 days. So I kind of saw part of that.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. I remember hearing about that process, where he was, televised and, videotaped and,
yeah,
very, they were looking chronologically at the days and they were studying him and they were taking his blood and they were measuring all of his,
yeah,
studying
yeah,
everything that was going on with his heart rate. And while he was just, in that room, solitary in the room for no food and water for over 8 days.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I read that in his book. Have you read the book A Year Without Food? That was his book.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I plan to read it,
Hmm.
but yeah, not yet.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, just a testimony. And you spoke that you mentioned you were looking at his retreat recording. So you've been to one of his retreats?
I've not been, but I'm considering.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
awesome,
I'm
awesome.
just exploring to see how it is for people.
Right.
I also saw a testimonial, and that sounded pretty nice. So
Yeah, and Ray Mayor is on the Israel side, him and his mentor Tal Giboa, they're all on the Israel side. So their perspective is very unique, especially Ray's perspective. I find it very, scientific. He's very down to earth. He's very logical, scientific, kind of, talking about the body and its biological capabilities, and it isn't very in the realm of fantasy or in the realm of where other people will go. And I actually take a liking to all different perspectives, all different sides. But what do you enjoy most about Ray Mayor's way of thinking when it comes to pranic living?
yeah. So I agree that he's very logical. But what I receive is just his this light energy that he talks with. That's what I receive. I'm not very logical myself. I am, in fact, I would prefer the more heart-based, the more, energetic kind of conversations. Um, and you don't get much of that from him. Like even when he's talking about mystical stuff, he's very like logical.
Right.
But I still really enjoy. I can see that he's a light person, like, very like light.
Very light.
So yeah, yeah,
That, that's a really high
yeah,
compliment. I love that coming from you, Shravani, when you're talking about others. They say that, the light I see is the light in me, you know?
mm,
So you're making that connection, but it shows the reflection. It's like the light recognizes light. Yeah.
oh, okay, thank you. That's a huge compliment coming from you.
Yeah, it's just calling it like I see it because, even with Bashar, Shravani, when you're talking about Bashar, the channeler, channeling that information and putting out that positive vibration, one of the best quotes that I ever received from Bashar was to follow your highest excitement to the best of
Mm,
your ability for
mm,
as long as you can
yeah.
without any attachment to outcome. And that was one of the best things I ever received. And it was so simple, but it was so profound to just follow your bliss, follow your joy. So, what message
Yeah.
did you receive that you enjoyed from Bashar?
So I like this one. He calls it the formula. So I really like this. What else? Okay, what's coming to me is um, somebody was telling him that they don't feel like life is worth living, that they have any value.
Hmm.
Then I think his response was on the lines of, that's not possible. I mean, just because you exist, you are valuable, and you can continue to like fight this truth.
Hmm.
But uh, the truth is that if you were not valuable, you wouldn't exist. So
Hmm.
one thing that's coming to me, but there's a lot. Like I really enjoy listening to um, his videos. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that message. Shravani, thank you. Dhanyavad, that was a beautiful message just right there. Just that if you were not valuable, you would not exist. You know,
Yes.
that is
Yes.
that is so
And
beautiful.
also
Go ahead.
that creation doesn't make mistakes. So
Say it again.
that that creation doesn't make mistakes.
You said it
So he says
beautifully. You
that.
said it best. Yeah. Creation does not make mistakes. One of my good friends said that as well. Her name was Carolina, and she was in Bali when she told me this. But she said the very same thing, and I believed her when she said it. I believe that she believed when she said it. But she said the creator and creation does not make mistakes. So that's just coming full circle. Just I'm almost about to get emotional. Just hearing you say it gave me chills because it's like you just took it right from the ether, just you plucked it from that wisdom of the universe. Creation does not make mistakes. I hold that in my heart. I hold her in my heart, and thank you for that reminder. I needed to hear that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Seriously. Seriously. We all need that reminder from time to time. And if you can recall, Shravani, were there times in your life when you would have needed or would have liked to have heard that creation does not make mistakes? Were there times that you can recall feeling down where you didn't know if you should continue or if you should go on? Do you remember feeling like that?
Yes. Um, yes. So, like I briefly mentioned in our chat, I suffered for chronic health issues for like more than 20 or so years.
Mhm.
And there came a point where, like a few years back, where I just felt very broken and hopeless because I had um, um, consulted many doctors across India, across the UK even, and I didn't find any solution. And I was like living with pain, a lot of pain every day, and no amount of medication was helping. And yeah, then I came to this point where I thought that maybe I should end my life because I refuse to um, continue living this way.
Mm.
Um, and back then, if somebody had told me that creation doesn't make mistakes, I probably would not have understood.
Mm.
But now, in retrospect, I understand that it was not a mistake and it was the biggest blessing of my life that all of this happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gratitude, gratitude. Wow, thank you for sharing that. Just, thank you for that testimony because when you're talking about, Shravani, the chronic issues, the chronic ailments, or just the feeling in your body, could you describe what it was like to have those chronic health issues? What was it like in your description?
Um, okay, so um, I had a lot of respiratory and digestive issues. So um, difficulty breathing on a daily basis, on a moment to moment basis, in fact, always having phlegm in my chest, in my throat, difficulty and pain speaking, always being bloated, painfully bloated and constipated and having abdominal pain. And this is like on a day to day to day basis. And I used to feel like my entire, like this torso region is like this block of pain
Mm,
that doesn't seem to go away.
okay. So it was a lot of mucus buildup. There was a lot of just buildup of blockages in the body. You said it's almost like your throat chakra, the lower chakras were just kind of blocked. Those energy centers weren't flowing.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And what did you discover was like, the top contributing factors that maybe you were unaware of at the time? What were the contributing factors to all the blockages that you've discovered?
Yeah. So I have a few theories. Um, so the more practical ones would be just the fact that I have taken lots of medications in my life.
Mm,
Lots, because um yeah, I mean, I was born in an environment where we had a lot of faith in the Western medical system, and the access was very easy. So for the smallest of thing, we would go, and back then, maybe now people don't prescribe antibiotics as much, although my experience has been different. But back then, they used to be just prescribed like candies.
mm,
So I've taken a lot of antibiotics, also the vaccines, and just lots of medications. And obviously, because medicines are so toxic, you never really heal. You just suppress the symptoms, and then when the symptoms come back again, they come back with even more force. Then you suppress them again, and this over years, I think, just really harmed my body. So this is one reason I think that I'm getting a bit emotional. Uh,
it's okay.
yeah, so this is
Yeah.
one. Yeah, this is one which I feel really like bad and angry about.
Mm,
Yeah, I wish, like, I get really angry at all the doctors also.
mm,
Okay, it's a long story there, but anyway, so this is one which I feel contributed to a good degree to my health issues. Second, I would say would be just mental chronic stress.
mm,
Um, just this stress of being born in this world, and you have to study and you have to get this job and earn money, and there are these competitive exams and you have to study, and just I think I realized much later in my life, which was when my healing journey started, that I am chronically stressed. I didn't know that I am like this tight. It was after I quit my job
mhm.
and just allowed myself to relax
Right.
that I realized how stressed I am. So, yeah, I mean, this is also one major
Mhm,
factor. And there are many, many sub reasons for this, just the difficulties of being a woman
mm.
in a man's world. And, so there is this whole journey also which I've gone through where I've kind of um, reconnected with my feminine side, because the job that I was doing and the studies, they were all very logic based, math. I was a computer science engineer, and all of that, it's not natural to me. And I can, even though I did well because I could employ those skills that I have, but it was not natural for me to, you know, do all this math and be so,
Right.
in a way, employ those masculine traits.
Right.
So that also I discovered much later that, hey, it's okay to be, a girl and want to do girly things and just, you know, play with puppies. I'm not saying that this is a feminine thing, but whatever, you get it. Like, I realized that it's okay to be a girl.
Right.
And yeah, so this whole journey, which is still continuing, so this is also one bit that I realized contributed to this chronic stress, which I have been carrying my whole life. And then there were some incidents in my childhood which deeply affected me. They were a bit of sexual nature. They were like not horrible incidents, but it still affected me deeply. And God knows how as a child, I did not know how to process, and I did not have people around me who could help me process. So that also, my guess is that that also got stuck in my body and slowly just, so yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for your vulnerability, just being vulnerable and sharing that, and your openness, because I know it's not always easy just to share these things, just to be open enough to talk about these things, the things that happen in our lives that are very traumatic, that are very disturbing, and that disturb us at the spirit, at the core, the soul level, especially when we're young, when we're very young, very malleable, very manipulated, that we can be coerced, a lot of these things, they stay stuck in the body, they stay stuck in the subconscious mind, and they stay stuck for years. A lot of the doubts, a lot of the fears, they stay in us for years. So thank you just for being vulnerable of sharing that, because I can definitely empathize with you. You're tapping into the divine and the sacred feminine within a masculine environment, and you're trying to harmonize these elements of you and these qualities of you that are more natural in an environment and atmosphere that is unnatural to who you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It makes sense. So, another thing that you touched on, Sravani, really hit home for me as well when it came to the anger and the frustration with doctors and medication, and just the constant pharmaceuticals. I myself, I took many, many pharmaceuticals over many years, at least a decade of, prescribed medication, Adderall, Ritalin, Strattera, Concerta. Like, these were just a few of the medications that I was prescribed for, attention deficit hyperactivity, and also depression as well. And there were times where, I was very, very confused and very disillusioned with a lot of things. And my young mind didn't understand why I needed to take these medications. And I forgive my mother, because my mother is a doctor, she's an obstetrician gynecologist. So she always sided with the doctors. She always agreed with the psychiatrist, the people that wanted me to be on meds and pharmaceuticals. She could always agree with them because she came from the medical field.
Yeah.
And in fact, my heart goes out to her, because she's still heavily intense. Like, she's on medication now. She's taking medication for so many things. Have you seen those tablets with those trays with the Monday
Yeah.
through Sunday? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she has the pill trays with the Monday through Sunday, and every pill requires another pill. So like just like you were saying, Shravani, at a certain
Yes,
point, you know, it's insufficient. It needs another pill, it needs a higher potency, it needs a higher dosage, and then
yes,
that pill requires another pill. And then you get to a point where you're just taking so much that, I mean, you're just living on medication, you know, you don't know how to survive without it. And
yes.
that's very, very heartbreaking. So how did you deal with the anger? I would love to hear how you process that. How did you deal with the anger? Because I had a lot of anger when I was younger. Yeah.
Uh, so for me, okay. So till I discovered the healing path, I continue to have trust in the medical system because I thought that that's the only way. If they don't have an answer, then I'll probably just have to wait a few years till they do more scientific discoveries and scientific innovation so that they can crack my code and find an answer for me.
Mm,
So until that point, until I had this belief, my anger was towards God for
mm,
making me for making me broken
mm,
when everybody else seemed to have were not as broken or yeah. So I was very angry with God and really really sad all the time. Yeah. Now it's reversed. I really love God. And I have this anger, although it's not anger because I kind of understand things more,
mm,
but I feel like I'm this natural healing warrior. Like I'm so anti medical industry right now.
mhm.
So this is where my anger, if you want to call it, directed right now, and earlier it was towards God.
Mm. Okay. Okay. So,
And for me, um, yeah, so I went through so many cycles, oh my, like so many cycles of having hope, going to these doctors, trying these new medicines, trying these new treatments, and it not working.
right.
And then my hopes getting crushed. And then I am like living my life and I find out about this other doctor, maybe, or this new treatment, and maybe I'll go here, maybe I'll go all the way to UK. In fact, yeah, maybe there, maybe in a richer country, I'll find more expensive and better doctors and better technology, and there some genius guy will find my answer.
Mm,
Then I actually worked hard, got a job in UK, and I went there and I showed myself to all of these supposedly better doctors, or so I thought, and nobody could crack it. And every time, like my heart would get shattered here a little bit, then here a little bit, then here a little bit. And then finally, a point came where there was nothing left to shatter, and I was
yeah.
done.
Done. Just done. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Shravani, but I thought I heard you say that it wasn't like your anger completely left you, but it was almost like you alchemized and maybe even redirected your anger to another direction. So like you had an anger for God, but then
Yeah.
you redirected that anger to somewhere else.
Yeah, you could say that. Uh, um, yeah, you could say that. Although, but I would like to add that now this anger that I have, it's not like it's harming me,
Mm,
and it's not exactly anger also. It's this, oh, like these mofos are screwing all of us up, and people need to find the truth.
mm,
And so I'm this like eco warrior, natural living warrior, and it's that, it's more of like passion and
mm,
this, yeah, like I'm on the other side. Like if this is the war, then I'm here, you know. Okay, like bring it on. It's that kind of a thing. Even though on some level I understand that everything is God, right? Even the pain and the darkness and all of this negative side of this game, even this is God. You know, this whole drama is going on. So it's not like I have anger in the sense that I'm hurt. Like I feel like on some level I am in touch with this like fundamental truth that everything is love. And then on top of this truth, of course, there is this reality where there is the bad, the villain, and the hero, and you know, this dark energy, light energy, and all of this drama going on. So you could say that, you know, I have anger, but on some level, I'm also kind of free, and it's not the anger is not burning me.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Not eating you up inside or burning you up from within, you
Yeah.
know. I've definitely heard, and thank you for this, enlightening perspective. I just really enjoy how you illustrate this and paint the picture of what some people might call like a righteous anger. Some other people might even label it like sacred rage. I've heard of sacred rage,
Nice.
it's almost like ancestral, it's coming from somewhere just like, what is happening? Like, do people realize what's going on? And this ancestral sacred rage just wells up within you to, want a change to come about for the planet, for us. You just to wake up, to awaken, to the Maya, to the illusion, just to everything that's going on in society. And I feel
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, can you talk to us about when your husband introduced you, or was it your husband that introduced you to Vipassana?
Yes. Oh, yeah. It was him.
So, how did that, yeah,
Yeah.
how did that, trajectory transition you or take you in a completely different direction?
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, for me, okay. So, my husband was back then my boyfriend. In fact, my ex-boyfriend. So we had broken up and he had gone for Vipassana and he came back and he was just like after my life and he kept insisting that I should go. And he was already my ex. So I was anyway very angry with him and I was like, just like leave me alone type. But somehow, you know, uh, I eventually decided that fine, I'm going to apply and I'm going to go. So I went and I came back, and obviously something shifted, but it's not like I knew what shifted. But now I know because, like, SN Goenka, the teacher, he says this, right? That, it's not like in 10 days something very visibly different will happen. But this is like planting a seed inside you. So that little tiny seed entered me. And over time, I realized that, oh, that seed of self-awareness is growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing.
Yes.
And yeah, so even before Vipassana, I used to do a lot of research. I used to talk to the doctors as though I'm a doctor. Like I used to use all the jargon, all the science, all the, I've read this research and this papers and whatnot. And like I used to really work hard to solve my own case before Vipassana. And somehow I did not find any answers. I was still stuck in the uh, same pace. And then somehow Vipassana happened, and I'm continuing to continuing to do my research, but somehow, like on my YouTube, for example, somehow on my YouTube, these relatively more holistic ideas are coming to me, and I've started watching these, podcasts and whatever health content, which are more holistic, which I think before Vipassana I was not open to.
Okay.
So Vipassana kind of cracked my head open so that I could receive this larger picture of health which I learned that health comes from the word whole. Health has to be holistic. It cannot be any other way, which is how the Western medicine is working, where it's like, you know, cut everything into pieces and just, the specialization and not really considering the whole. And after my head cracked, I started getting these, suggestions on YouTube. I started watching it, and then slowly, I could like put the puzzles in place and figure
Yes.
things out.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That is amazing. You know, it's amazing how we sometimes think that things are falling apart, but in a scenario like this, it's like they're falling together. You know, the pieces are just falling together. The dots are connecting as we are reflecting. Everything is projecting, but it's also, it's just coming to you in that beautiful way. And it was just that seed, like you said, that seed that was planted, that you allowed it to blossom and bloom and grow and sprout and go on its own and
Yeah.
flow on its own. Because I love that, because for people that don't realize or have never done a 10-day Vipassana, this is 10 days that you're sitting down, usually for 10 hours a day for 10 consecutive days, and there's no talking, so you're completely silent. There's no entertainment. There's no, technology. There's no writing, journaling, misconduct of any kind. There's no socializing. It's just you and yourself. It was just me, myself, and I when I did Vipassana, and that was 2 years ago. But I will always remember that it was indelible. It left such an impression in my mind, and the days were like stretching. The days were stretching so long because I wasn't talking. I was just to myself. But whenever we would go to the Dhamma hall or the meditation hall, and we would listen to the discourse, from Goenka, and we would hear, the third day is over. You
Yeah.
have 7 more days to work. Work very hard, diligently, ardently. Like we were just work. He just gave this perception of, you're here to work. You're gonna work on yourself for your own
Yeah.
mental health.
Yeah.
And it was like there were times where it was blissful. There were times where it was very painful and excruciating. There were times where you
Yeah.
wanted to move from the, aditana, the strong sitting. We're doing the anapana meditation, the aditana, and we're just having to sit with everything that we've accumulated over the years. You're just having to sit with all of that and finally acknowledge and allow it to rise to the surface. So it definitely can, for one who is willing, it can crack you open in so many ways, and love can come and fill in those cracks. Joy can come and fill in those cracks. Peace can come and fill in those cracks where we have been cracked open, shattered in so many pieces, but something comes in to fill in the gaps. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I'd like to add a thought here
Hmm.
that, even if you're not willing to do the work, in fact, I'll share a bit about myself here.
Hmm.
Even if you're not willing, just the fact that you're sitting with yourself for 10 days, that itself will do a good amount of work for you, because there's no escaping for 10 days. You are not escaping from yourself. So even if you consciously want to work on yourself, or whether you don't want to work on yourself, it doesn't matter. Just doing this itself is already doing a lot to you. So in my case, actually, so I have gone for multiple courses, and actually I'm such a terrible meditator. I would just sit, and then I'd get like, yeah, I think my focus is horrible. And sometimes I wouldn't even go to the meditation hall to meditate. Um, but still, I know that it used to crack me open further.
Hmm.
Just being with myself, is work enough, or is good amount of work already. That's my it it's my opinion.
Absolutely. No, I definitely agree. I agree, you know, and it's coming, it's bringing yourself back together again. Like you said, those pieces are falling together and you're becoming more whole. You see that, you know, it's like you're becoming more whole. And you said that before, Shravani, which was so beautiful and so eloquent. You said there is no health without wholeness. That health itself must be holistic, that it
Yes,
has to be,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. And around this, another thing which like really annoys me about the medical industry is that they think that the mind and the body are like these two separate
Mm,
things,
mm,
which hardly have maybe some connection but not much connection. Whereas the truth is that they are pretty much the same thing.
yeah.
There is like infinite
Mm,
connections going in both directions. Like it's the same thing. You cannot separate the mind and the
yeah.
body. And I mean, I can, yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
And it's been my experience so far that all the healing that happens, it happens in both ways.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And it's just revolutionary to think about that in that way. And even today, I just love the way that you have this perspective and to have that, you know, to understand that there is no separation, that there's always been wholeness. One of my
Yes.
mentors was talking about, you know, that when the baby is born, that brain is formed and the spinal cord, it's almost like it extends outwards, coming from the mind, like coming from the brain, the central nervous system, the spinal cord running up and down those connections, the wiring to the brain, it extends outward. There is no separation. It's all one. It's all
Yes.
one. So it's
Yes.
like the brain is the body is the brain. There is no separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I'd like to add here that so the brain is just an organ, like
Mm,
many other organs, but
mm,
is
mm.
mind is actually, sorry, one second.
Okay.
Yeah, the mind is not just arising out of the brain. It's like it's a whole body thing.
Mm.
I don't know if I probably did was not very clear there because I don't have the words myself.
Okay, it's
But
no
that's,
worries.
yeah. Yeah, but that's my understanding that, you know, brain is just one organ, and it's an assumption that this whole experience of what we call the mind is coming out of the brain. Sure, we've seen that, okay, if you like electrically poke here, then something happens. If you electrically poke here, then something happens. Something happens in the mind or in our experience.
Mhm.
But then even if you poke your stomach, something will happen. I'm okay, I'm a bit vague here, I understand, but I feel that brain is an organ. Sure, I mean, whatever, it has a role, but mind, which is this experience, it's
Mm.
arising out of the body as a whole, or arising or is mapped to the body as a whole, and not just this one organ, is what I think.
Okay. So you find a difference, or you find that you do differentiate between what we know as the brain and what we know as the mind. You're saying these
Yeah.
are two different things.
Yes. Yeah. I can think a bit about that and, explain more clearly to both myself and you. Yeah, but
Beautiful.
maybe
Yeah, I
yeah.
just philosophically, I'm loving the hole that we're going down, just the rabbit hole that we're going into when we're talking about this. It gets me, you know, excited just to hear these perceptions and these reflections. And when you're talking about going through Vipassana, and then when did you actually discover fasting? Like when was it that you discovered, you know, not eating? and the effects and the benefits that you receive from that practice.
Yeah. So, okay, so Vipassana happened, and then soon after, I quit working because I could not work anymore. I was like, yeah, in a really bad state. I couldn't work, so I stopped working. And then I got really obsessive about more research, and I would start to obsessively for like 10 hours a day, sort of like put it as on background health videos, one after the other, like video slash podcast content on YouTube. So one after the other after the other. It's not like I was fully being attentive. Like I would like clean my room and something would be playing in the background, but like my body was kind of taking the information, all this like huge amount of information I was consuming.
Yeah.
And I was consuming a lot of content, like so many things, like over time, my interests. So anything holistic. Oh yeah. So okay, bunch of some important events happened. So I'll like go through that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started watching a lot of content, a lot of spiritual content also. So that also helped. Like I discovered non-duality, like Advaita Vedanta, and some videos on that. So just going through that, it sort of calmed my mind, and made me more helped me accept my circumstances more. So this is just the beginning of the journey. Then yeah, then I was like, okay, so then some change in my strategy happened, where I was like, okay, instead of trying to cure my disease, this list of diseases, what I can do is, okay, so all of these guys are saying that these are healthy habits. So fine, since I have no other choice, I will adopt these bunch of healthy habits. And of course, even if it doesn't cure my disease, but overall my health score, if it's like at a -10 right now, even if it comes to -7 with all of these so-called healthy habits, that's also better for me. So, okay, this new, because until that point, I was like, I'm not interested in all of this. Somebody just fix these diseases and then I can just live my life. This was my mindset. So then this mindset shift happened, and then I started adopting these little changes, like, okay, circadian rhythm, fine, then, I will sleep sooner, wake up sooner, I will expose my body to the sunlight, intermittent fasting. So all of these little things, which everybody agrees is a good thing to do, right? So no controversy, no controversy there. So all these little good habits I started adopting, and I saw a difference. So I was like, okay, fine, I can breathe better. Like my score has come down to, from -10 to a -7 with these changes. Of course, I'm still suffering, still in a lot of pain, and it's not like I'm very happy with this -7, but life is more bearable now. Then this very important event happened where I came across this video on YouTube where this lady was giving a talk in Google something talk, whatever. So the talk was about spontaneous remission. So that spontaneous remission.
Remission.
Remission. And she was talking about all these cases where, okay, this guy, he was told by the doctor that, okay, you have cancer, you just have you have some time to live, you have a few months to live, let's say. And this guy is like this hotshot, like very rich dude in the finance industry, whatever. And after hearing this, he's like, okay, screw all this. He was in New York, and he decided to, fine, if I am dying, then I might as well go back to my village in Spain and die there. That's what he decided. He goes to his village in Spain, and he not only survives, he thrives, and he finds out later that the doctor who said that he will die, well, he's now dead, but he's like he has lived till the old age.
Whoa.
So there are many such cases like that, and then I realized that he comes back to his village, he experiences some connection, he eats his tasty food, he lives this like easy life, in his village, and that is healing. So that heals him, right? Some other situation where this girl was in a very toxic marriage, and she keeps resisting, but finally she decides to leave. Then once she leaves, a lot of her physical issues go away.
Exactly.
So similarly, she like gave a lot of such stories, and that gave me hope. I was like, I'd still not discovered fasting and all, but this was like this first time where I was like, this makes sense. Like, if there is any possibility that something like this can work for me, then if just by the sheer belief, like if I can think myself into health, kind of. And there is a lead here, there's that little bit of maybe I have a solution, or this road has opened up. So that was an important moment for me.
Okay.
And then yeah, more content consumption, and then I was experimenting with food a lot, which was a long journey. So from this point till me discovering fasting, it was like 10 months or so, like probably a year. So for a year, because food, you probably already know, is such a cluttered, controversial topic. Every expert on the planet has a different opinion about food, right? And they all have some valid points. So I took a lot of time to like kind of make experiment, keep track of my symptoms and whatever. I was being the scientist, and none of it really did it for me. And then finally, I started to, okay, so this thing about raw foods and fasting started to come to me like in, so for example, there is this, do you know Sadhguru? Yeah. So I used to watch a lot of Sadhguru videos also, because I think I thought that he made sense on a lot of topics. So yeah, and then I watched his video on food where he was talking about cooked food being dead food. And that was the first time I heard that idea, and I was like, I don't know, like, okay, so I heard it and I was not sure. Then suddenly this idea kept coming to me from various sources. Some naturopathy center in India, they kind of send me this booklet, and in that booklet it was written, and I was like, this is very weird. It just doesn't, I don't really vibe with this idea, because we have been eating cooked food for our whole life. Right. How can you, like, what is this? What do you even mean by dead food? Exactly. Right? That's just like a very woo-woo thing to say. But then more of this started coming to me. There's another like channel in India. It's popular. It's called Sattvic Movement, and they were talking about the idea of. Are you familiar with Sattvic Movement?
No, but it sounds familiar. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, they're really good. Yeah, so even they were talking about this, and they were talking about this and everything else that they had to say. Most of it made sense to me. So, all the folks that mostly made sense were saying stuff like this. And even more content started coming where, a lot of, so this was the Indian bit, and a lot of like Western, like just more content about people talking about how shifting to raw food or raw living food, right? What is this living? I don't know. But raw living food, how they healed. I was like, okay. That's like that's interesting, and that's starting to make some sense. So I started becoming more open to this idea, and I started eating more raw foods. Then I already knew that fasting helps in healing, because I was already intermittent fasting. But this idea of doing prolonged fast, that came much later when I came across, do you know Lauren Lockman?
Yes, I met him in Costa Rica. Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was at
Yeah.
his water fasting center with a good friend of mine. We were both there with him. So it was nice.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, yes. So I came across his channel,
Hmm.
and the first video, it made so much sense. I was like, oh my god, this guy has something valid to say here. Then I went on this binge, and I saw all of his videos, and I was like, okay. By then, I was like, okay, maybe I'll do a juice fast. But after I binged on his content, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm doing this. Yeah. So that is how I came across fasting.
Yeah.
And I like
What
I
was it
did.
that you heard that you were like, okay, like what was it that flicked the switch for you and said, okay, I gotta do this prolonged fast. I gotta, push the limits of my comfort zone. What do you recall what he said, or what triggered that within you?
Mm, okay, let's see. So there he keeps repeating a few points over and over again, which I think are very fundamental to this whole fasting idea. Um, one is that is of the body being self-healing and
Yeah.
self-cleansing, right? He says that over and over, and he says your divine, infinitely intelligent body is self-healing and self-cleansing. I feel that this is a very powerful statement, right? It's divine. So you connect, like, because all of us have been like brainwashed into believing that like our body is like this machine, and it gets diseases out of the blue. It gets like just like a machine, just like your car, it breaks down here and there. So you go to the hospital, they will do their fixing to your. And this is such a
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
It's a
such
big,
upside down.
I agree. It's a big limitation. Just on the
Yes,
imagination, it's a big limitation,
yes,
to believe that the body is not capable of doing what's within its design. Like it's within our constitution to be healthy. That's like you said, it's divine in the
yes,
design, it's already divine. Yeah.
yes. Ah, yes. So I love this statement of his. Of course, there's this whole explanation about food, and no other species eats cooked food, and how that, whatever, all of this like logical stuff, which is very great. I love the way he explains it. This one statement, your divine godly body, like this is how you are experiencing this crazy, like crazy thing called life. This is the instrument. How can you be so stupid and arrogant to believe that that it's normal to just be sick, and then you need this other folk who calls himself an expert to fix you? Like what? It's like, and he uses the statement so many times that it kind of got into my head finally.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And oh, another statement which is very important is that symptoms are a sign that the body is healing and cleansing. This this is also a very important thing to catch. And you, like, once you get into this journey, you will see that this happens. Because then I used to be like, okay, he is saying this, but we'll have to test it out. So right, so now I am having the stomach pain, and then I go and eat, and the stomach pain goes away. So what is happening? Okay, this is a long explanation, but I can go over it. But he explains it so well, and and then I'm like, okay, that's a great explanation. Let me see it if that's true for me. And I see that it's true for me, and I'm like, oh my god, symptoms are truly a sign that the body is healing and cleansing. And the moment I run towards medicines or food or whatever, I'm actually stopping the detox process. So the symptoms go away. And so I am fooled into believing that the meds or the food helped me.
Exactly.
But it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah.
There it is.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually, you know, it's a form of gratitude that we can have to feel blessed that we are able to be sensitive enough to perceive the symptoms themselves. Like if we can perceive, if we can be sensitive enough to feel the body healing, you know, and revealing the disharmony or revealing the problem, that's a good indicator of health. That's an indicator of health, like the body is healing. But when we don't feel the symptoms or when we don't perceive them at all, that's when we're kind of in a danger zone. You know, you want to feel the symptoms. That's letting you know that
Yeah.
health is arriving. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I'd like to
Yeah.
add a point here about sensitivity,
Mm-hmm.
right? So up until now, I used to think that sensitivity doesn't sound like, it sounds like weakness. Doesn't sound like a good thing. So that was my opinion. And now I believe what you just said, and I have something to say here. So after my second fast, every time I held my phone, I would feel this pain. And I was like, okay, so firstly, it took me a couple of days to realize that this crazy pain that I have, it comes when I hold my phone. So it took me a couple of days to realize that. Then I'm like, okay, what is happening? Like, I made this connection, but I didn't. Then I started doing some research, and then I found more research about how phones and all these EMF radiations, they're burning you, you know? And then I told this to my husband. He was like, I don't know. And I'm like, but clearly it's happening for me. And also I noticed that when I have my phone in my hand and we're traveling in a car, then it burns even more. And then I found out, I did some more research. I found out that, okay, you know, when in a moving vehicle, phones kind of send EMF signals more frequently, and therefore there's even more EMF signals or whatever. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. This is my reality. But then my husband was not experiencing this. I was like, what is happening? But this is real for me. And then slowly, it started happening with my husband also, and both of us like, this is real. So now, because now I've so this was just after the fast where I was like this pure baby level sensitivity. So then I could perceive it, but now I don't perceive it as much. So the sensitivity has dropped because I'm eating whatever, some cooked foods and whatever, I'm eating a bunch of things, and I've not become healthier. I've become desensitized. So yeah, like you said, it's actually a good thing to be sensitive so that you're catching even the smallest of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that testimony. You know, it makes a lot of sense, even logically, when you're talking about this. And, you know, one of the things I love about you, Sravani, I love this about you. You are willing to experiment. You're willing to test and find out. We call that TAFO, like test and find out. You know, you don't just rest on your laurel. You don't just rest on, you know, whatever information or something that someone has given you that you maybe have digested from somewhere else. You've consumed this outside source of information. You test it and you find out from within. You find out for yourself what it means
Yeah.
for you to actually have this lived experience, and you don't just trust, you know, the outer guidance or the outer guidelines, you know, the things that we've been told or the things that we've been sold or the ways we are controlled by other perceptions. You're like, no, I'm gonna have that internal direction. I'm gonna pay attention to my gut intuition, my gut instincts, my gut guidance. You know, let me listen to my gut, let me follow my gut and see what happens. And
Yeah.
it's amazing what you can reveal when you allow yourself to feel. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. That's so lovely. You're very poetic.
So, oh man. So, Sravani, let us know, you know, you've gone through, you told us that you've done intermittent fasting. You told us you learned about Lauren Lockman, which, of course, Lauren, he's big into water fasting. And you did some 21 days. So now 21 days, that's no small feat, especially the average person in society. I don't know about India, because I know India, perhaps, there's a lot of, a lot more reverence when it comes to, pranic energy and pranic wavelengths in India, because that's where, we get the word prana. But here in America, nobody's going a day without eating. Not very many. Not very many. There's very few and far between that people are going even one day. You went multiple 21 days. So can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, okay. Uh, so yes, you're right. One is that in India, um, even though in urban settings, in mainstream places, people are just normal. They eat their normal food, and they whatever go to the hospitals when they're sick and just live their normal life. But still, in our mythology, in the culture, the idea of fasting is there. Like, for example, there's a word called falahar, right? There are these festivals, the multi-day festivals where you're supposed to fast, and fast maybe one type of fasting is falahar, where you just live on fruits. So it's known, even though people have stopped following it, and they have all these hacks during, like, people just for the sake of it, they're fasting, but they're actually kind of breaking rules here, like, whatever. But still, it's there in the culture. So this word is there in the culture, falahar. And even otherwise, anything that's a bit out there and mystical, it's there in the culture, and parents will accept it because they know that, okay, maybe these saints in the mountains, okay, we have heard that they can do these crazy things. Okay, so it's there in the culture, but it's not there in the mainstream. And when I had decided that, okay, I'm going to do it, I experienced such mad resistance from my parents. And I had to, like, eventually, I said, okay, I'm doing this. If it's not here at home, I'll go somewhere else and do it. Because I don't care whether you understand or not. But this, as far as I'm concerned, is my only option. So you just, if you want to understand, then put in the work and understand. Instead of just telling me that I can't do something which I see as my only option out of this suffering. So I, like, fought it out, and I said I'm doing it. And then, of course, if I'm giving this threat that I'm leaving, you accept. So my parents, whatever, they had no choice and accepted. Sorry, I lost track of your question. What was your question again?
Yes, and first of all, I just want to preface this because that hits home as well. Just the backlash, the misunderstanding, and even just the negative wave of energy that we can get from loved ones, family members, people who have seen us grown up, people who, have birthed us, like they have opinions on what we do. So I definitely had to go through that as well when it came to the intervention of my family members. But wow, kudos to you. I'm clapping for you that you were able to do that with grace, and that you were able to have that in your face, but you still embraced yourself and you still embraced your health, even though you weren't hearing support from everyone else.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I had support. Yeah, I was pretty much alone. Like, even my husband, you could say that he was there, but even he was skeptical. He was like, this is a lot. It sounds like too out there. Like, he had done a couple of days of fast, and he was aware of these ideas, because both of us were kind of exploring this together. But this was, yeah, like, it was just me, and I was like, I don't care. Like, this, I'm doing it. So, yeah.
Beautiful. And you said 21 days. So can you talk about that just for anybody who has not even done one day? What could someone, I know everyone's fast is different, everybody is different because everybody is different. But what did you experience during the course of 21 days without solid food?
Okay, so I have done 221 and 114, and every fast was different, and every fast was easier in many aspects compared to the last one. So this is like a general thing I'm putting out there. So during my first 21-day fast, many things happened on both like a physical level and mental level. I'll start with mental because that's like simpler. Emotionally, um, there was just a lot of sadness that came up that I could not run away from. So, it was like actually fasting is like, it's like Vipassana for the body. There is no running away.
No.
Right. You have to stop yourself. You're right. So, yeah, I used to try and distract myself with my phone and all. But not much. I mean, most of the times I was just so tired and, healing that I would just have no escape. And I used to just sit with the emotional pain and sadness and the grief. So the word is grief that is coming to me. And I see the grief is still there. The grief about what I have asked myself a lot of times. And like, the simple answer would be just this grief of losing myself, like on a very fundamental level, just this grief of disconnection from my true self, from my home, right? And of course, there are these other more real kind of grief, like, okay, this happened to my body, this incident happened that really deeply hurt me, and this and that. But at the most fundamental level, I came face to face with my grief of disconnection from this loving wholeness, which is my actual truth, my actual being, and this disconnection where I've kind of lost touch with this truth. So, okay, this is a bit philosophical.
I love philosophy. Philosophy was my favorite subject. I love philosophy, like just having that. I mean, that is very, very profound, Sravani, the way that you describe it. To be grieving, the version of you, like the highest truth, the divinity within you, like to be grieving a version of yourself. I found myself as well when I was going on liquid journeys, when I was going on what we call solid food vacations, just taking vacation that turned into a staycation, away from solid food. There were times where I grieved the version of myself that was more congested, more constipated, more stuffed up because I had thought that I had reached a level of contentment with that form of consumption, but I had neglected so many things and protected so many things and had not respected so many things that I didn't really realize until I was without those things. So with the it was the absence of me putting things in that things started to come out.
Yes.
And it
yes.
was, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. That's why I kind of compare. That's why I'm saying that the body and the mind are very much the same thing. Right. Because all of these ideas that S.N. Goenka talks about in Vipassana, which is that once you stop putting thoughts in, then this huge ocean of stuff that you already have, that starts to come out. And that's, and the same happens for the body. And okay, so emotionally, there was a lot of grief, which I, saw for the first time properly and experienced and allowed myself to feel fully. So that was very healing. Then there was a lot of love, like I could feel more opening of my heart because, and and I feel a lot of love for my parents. kind of like realized that actually I loved him so much. Like, yeah. So that came up, and yeah, just this like love towards nobody, just love, in my being. I just started to feel more of that. There were also there was also this grief about disconnection with my body, and specifically this loss of reverence for my body. You know, um, yeah, like none of us, I think, in our culture, we don't have reverence, and that's like the word is like the highest level of respect for our bodies. In fact, we think of it as this like annoying burden, you know. And after I kind of much so after my fast, after the healing happened, when this became a reality for me that actually have healed, because all of these objective parameters, what I could clearly see that okay, this has improved, this has improved, this has improved. And then I remember this one time, actually there were multiple times where I cried so much because I realized that for my whole life I thought that I am defective, that my body is defective. And now I'm realizing that, oh, it was never defective. It was always working in my favor. It was always loving me back, irrespective of how unloving I have been to my body, and how incredibly powerful it is. Right? So, like, I just cried out of, like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. Just me telling my body that I'm so sorry for not realizing this sooner, I guess, or not being so stupid,
Wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that is so powerful. Just to give that a breath for a moment, just to really absorb that and take that in just for a moment. Thank you so much, Sravani, for just that right there. I mean, just to give us ourselves, our bodies, that amount of reverence, that amount of acknowledgement. Like, I hear you, I see you, I'm with you, to say, like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, to even hold yourself, to embrace yourself, to hug yourself, and to ask yourself for forgiveness for all the things that you've done, irregardless, like regardless of what you knew in that moment. Maybe it was unconscious things. For myself, I was telling my own body that. I started talking to my body out of nowhere. I had never in all my years had I ever spoken to my own body until I started doing what we're talking about. It got me into a relationship with myself that I never knew was there. And here's something, I'll say this real quick. I felt like my body responded. It was like my body heard me. It heard my words. It heard my emotions, my feelings. It heard my grief, my sorrow, what you're talking about. Like, it felt it on a deep cellular level and a cellular level. And it was like, it was almost as if my body was like, all is well. Like, it's okay. You know?
yeah, oh, yeah,
it's okay, Yeah, like I was just holding myself, and I remember being in tears as well. It was very emotional, and like you said, we shy away from sensitivity. We shy away from that level of, just devotion and emotion for something that has been with you all along. It's been with you since the beginning. It's been with you. It's never left you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that, because you brought me down memory lane. Just recalling that for yourself, you brought me down memory lane, because I didn't know that I could have that kind of connection, with my body and with myself, that we talk about. It's become cliche. You hear a lot about self-care, self-love, self-worth, self-awareness, self-image, self-confidence, self-esteem. You hear a lot of these self, but when do we really truly, like yourself, like have that revelation that all we have is ourselves. Like all this is all we have. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. Oh,
Thank you.
so yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for being such a lovely listener. Like I'm like you have a lot of patience and just yeah. So thank you for listening.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Yeah. You make it easy for me, Shravani. You make it so easy. This is food for me. This is nourishing me. I don't know if you can tell with the smile on my face. We've been talking for what, an hour and a half? It doesn't feel like an hour and a half. Time just flies because this is what we call like conversation cuisine. It's like a divine dining of dialogue that two beings can have with each other, and everyone's sharing in on this as well. If you know this, hearts have been going up, so many words have been going up, so many testimonies of kindness, and people are really just discovering themselves in new ways and asking themselves the questions that you dared to ask yourself when there was no one else around you to have that confirmation. You were willing enough to have the affirmation for yourself to relieve yourself in a new way. So many people have been definitely relating to you, and they've been connecting to your story, so your words. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, before we go, would you let somebody know if, they're just listening to your story and they've never done a fast for themselves, and they don't have the confidence yet to do 21 days, they're not touching it, right? But they want to at least go one day, or maybe
Yeah.
3 days, just a short one, like 1 to 3 days fast. What advice would you give somebody if this was their very first time?
Yeah. So there are a few points, not just one. So the first would be for a 24-hour fast, for just a 1 day fast. You don't need too much preparation. Nothing wrong can possibly happen. Like the chances of that is close to zero. So just go for it. And a bonus would be if you precede it with one meal of fruit, and after the fast, one meal of fruit. That would like be a bonus, but even that's not needed. I feel that a 1 day water fast is is so safe that you don't need so much precautions. And what it will lead to, just that 1 day water fast, is it will lead to more sensitivity, and then automatically these other additional benefits like beneficial habits of being a um eating lighter food before the fast, eating lighter food after the fast, it will automatically happen as the sensitivity and the wisdom kind of increases with the 1 day fast. So yeah, for the 1 day, just go for it. And bonus would be eat fruits here, like on both sides, but just go for it.
Just go for it. Don't worry about, you're saying, don't worry about so much preparation. Just take the
Yeah,
leap.
yeah, 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 yeah. And don't worry about the symptoms. They will come. All of us are toxic, so they will come. So just see that, oh, they're there. Just see what's happening.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful, eloquent, simply put. And, lastly as well, just one more point I wanted to touch on, because we didn't really get into too much of chronic living, but I know that you've, researched and you've studied Ellie Tom, Nicholas Pilart's, and Ray Mayor as well. So
Yeah.
where do you feel like, for yourself, where do you see humanity heading when you're listening to talks like this that talk about chronic living, breatharianism, or just living without entirely? Where do you see us heading as a species?
Okay. So actually, I don't have an opinion on this because I have just I've just barely gotten introduced to this topic. So I just 2 months back, I found you on shorts, on shorts, not shorts, sorry, on threads. Like I just randomly, your threads started popping up, and I really liked them. And yeah, actually, you are the first chronic living brethren who I came
Oh
across.
wow.
And this was, I didn't, yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, your thread started popping up. Like, these are really good. And I was telling my husband, "Hey, I found this really great guy, and his threads are so great." And I did not know anything about this. Like, I had heard it, but it felt like this very far-fetched thing. And, I wasn't really looking at that as something I can even start to explore. Then, like a week or two later, I heard one of your podcast in Spotify, and I really enjoyed it. And then I didn't think much about it. Then a friend of mine, Sudeshna, I think you know her. She's I yeah. So and you both follow each other. So my guess is that maybe you have some idea who she is. So she healed her psoriasis and all of like many health issues in this journey. And she was telling me that, okay, there's this guy Remayor, and I'm thinking of doing his retreat. I'm like, what are
Sudeshna,
you
you're talking
saying?
about Sudeshna?
Sudeshna, yes, yes.
Yes, Sudeshna, of course. Yeah,
Yeah, oh yeah, okay. She's amazing, and she's a very dear friend of mine.
absolutely.
So yeah, she just talked about it so casually as though it's a thing that's, reachable. I was like, oh. And then I was like, okay, let's see. And then I saw, and yeah, I just continued to watch a few of Remayor's videos. Then I saw one, not fully, like, so I have just can't even tell you that I know much about this topic, because like you said, for me it has to be experiential. I will go through my journey and see for myself what is true. So I barely know about the chronic living journey experience, so no opinions there. But I'm very excited, and I'm excited for a lot of reasons. I feel that I definitely want to experience or experience. I want to explore. I'm very, very curious on what's possible. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious. So yeah.
Absolutely. I feel it. I feel your energy. Curiosity got me here. These questions got me here. Just, just wanting to know what there is to know and realizing how much I don't know. That was it. Understanding there's so much I don't know. I could spend the rest of my life learning. It became a process of discovery, Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
So thank you for that. And I'm excited for you, Sravani. I'm excited for your journey. I'm excited for your learning. Keep that fire burning, keep it burning within
Thank
you.
you.
And if this is someone's first time witnessing you and they're just really drawn to your story, really find you magnetic, they're connected to you on that level, and they have questions, would you open your DMs or your messages, or do you have offerings or anything, services available for people who might reach out to you to connect further?
Um, yes, they can reach out to me. My profile is public, and they can DM me, and I would be very, very happy to, discuss this path and hopefully help somebody find freedom.
Yes.
I'm not offering anything.
Okay. No worries.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, but I would just love to talk. And because I'm so passionate about this topic, anybody can ping me, anybody can, if they're curious, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you've already helped so many, just in this hour and a half that we've spoken with each other. You have no idea the ripple effect that you have already, just thrown into the pond, the pebble in the pond, the ripple keeps on going. We don't know where it stops. We have no idea. So was this can't be your first live, by the way. Was this your first?
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You're a natural. You're a natural. You're a natural.
Okay.
You're a natural. That's amazing. That's amazing. So
I
beautiful, beautiful, my
was
friend. Yes. Thank you for coming on. Let's do this again sometime, and I'm looking forward to see where you go from here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for creating this space. Yeah, the space you created kind of helped me just loosen up and, be myself.
I'm glad.
Yeah. So thank you.
Right. Right. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and take care. Stay.
You too. Have a good day.
Take care.